I'm back in Sherwood Forest again, and it's a rather still and overcast late November morning. I appear to be the only one here. Must be my magnetic personality. And I'm back in the forest today just for a wander around at this far end of the Sherwood Forest Country Park. I'm currently in section C3, to those knowledgeable about such compartments. And I'm going to have a wander down through section C3, 2 and C1 and just have a look, see what I can find on the trunks and see what turns up. In the meantime, my friend here is pointing at something the RSPB in Natural England have missed. A sweet chestnut. They should be sacked. Fancy missing that. This lump of wood came down when we had the last big snow, which I seem to think was about this time of year in 2012. And the Mansfield area had 2 foot of snow. And I've got the pictures to prove it. And the amount of snow that laid on the trees was enough to fetch many large limbs down off the ancients. And this was one of them. But it has proved to be a useful source for finding some decent beetles over the years. And there's signs of one on there now. And I'll take you a little bit closer. This characteristic D-shaped exit hole is made by the larva of one of the jewel beetles, and in particular this is the oak jewel beetle, Agrillus bigotatus, which is an impressive metallic green beast. All of the jewel beetles make these characteristic shaped holes, and you can see how it's rounded on this side and flat on that side. And the larva lives under the bark of dead and dying trees. The adult beetle itself is attracted to trees in what we call distressed states, namely if limbs have fallen off or the tree is in the process of dying, or if it's had limbs lobbed off it. Now, it's an absolutely beautiful beetle. Before I go on a bit more about it, I'll put a photo in here so you can see what I'm talking about. It's relatively common in Sherwood. It had a period of abundance a few years ago in 2009-ish, something like that. And that might have been the result of a lot of felling that began in the forest around that time. And there's been a lot of concern over the presence of this beetle in the forest and elsewhere in the UK, because there is a tentative possible link to diseases affecting oaks. Let's hope they never appear here. There have been scares, but so far none of the diseases. I think sudden oak death is one. I could be wrong. But there were a couple of trees a few years ago where they had to get experts in to test them. This is one of the reasons why, if they continue to lob the tops off oaks and limbs keep falling off, it attracts beetles from far and wide, from many miles away. And one day, one of them's going to plonk on an oak and potentially lead to destruction. It's as easy and as simple as that. One only has to think back into the 1970s and Dutch elm. That would have started with just one little beetle somewhere. And then look what happened. Here's a nice little find. I'm not going to peel this away too much, but you can see just there is a queen wasp in the process of overwintering. Now, they're quite commonly found under loose bark in the forest, and she'll stay there right through till April and May. It's amazing how these things pass the winter on. And if you're careful with pulling back bark, you can leave it in a state so much as it's untouched, and there's no harm done. You're not disturbing anything. I always like to find things like that. It's a remnant of the summer and a reminder of the spring that's going to come. You never look at a forest floor, do you? Quite remarkable things, really, forest floors, when you look at them, and when you take the time out to look at them. The colours, the different shades, is wonderful. It'd make a great jigsaw. Forest floors tell something of a history. Even more of a history when I can see it. You scrape off this year's leaves, and then underneath this year's leaves, which are obviously the looser, crispier ones, you then get down to your first layer, which are the leaves and some twig remnants from last year. Oak leaves are one of the few species of trees where the leaves are tough enough to take a long time to break down. And then within the oak leaves, you get old acorns. This year's been a poor year for acorns. In fact, I haven't seen a fully formed acorn this year. All the ones that I have found have been deformed. And deformed by gall wasps. Occasionally you will find acorns with holes in, and there's never one when you want one. And they'll have little tiny round holes about 1 millimetre or 2 millimetres across, and they're formed by weevil larvae. There's several species that feed on oak. It's amazing, the leaf litter, you start to go down, and as you go down, the leaf litter becomes more and more broken, so that once you get about an inch below the surface, it gets like this, where it is reasonably well broken down. And it's thanks to the works of invertebrates that break the leaf litter down. If we go down even further in this incredibly rich Sherwood soil, amongst the roots, we find, if I just get down a bit more, a beautifully black soil. And this is history. Laid down by decades of leaves, broken down and taken down into the soil by invertebrates like worms. Worms, those horrible things that you can't stand because they're all slimy and horrible. Most people have little idea of what kind of state the environment would be in without invertebrates. Everything plays a part, no matter how useful or useless you think it is. One of the most common questions I get asked is, what good are flies? Or, especially a common one is, what use are wasps to anybody? They just sting you. Wasps have to be one of the most underestimated groups of insects on the planet. No one has a good word to say about wasps, yet they love bumblebees. Both can sting you, both stings can come a bit keen. Yet everybody loves bumblebees. Same colouring, yellow and black. Bumblebees are fuzzy, so they look cute and adorable, whereas wasps don't, I suppose. Yet wasps do an enormous amount of unseen good. They take thousands and thousands of insects to feed the rest of the colony and the young in that colony annually. Wasp colonies are only annual, and it's the queens, as we've seen earlier on in this video, that remain to overwinter. The workers and the males just die off as the temperature gets colder. And apart from taking and removing thousands of insects, they take spiders. They'll even take spiders' prey that's been wrapped up and stored in the web, ready for the spider to eat at a later date. The wasps can take and pluck things like that out of a spider's web with ease. Marvellous things. You don't realise how much work, good work, that wasps do. And insects in general. If we didn't have flies, species like Calliphora vicina, the humble housefly, we'd be up to us neck in. Too many of us give too little thought to the importance of invertebrates, no matter how much they like or dislike them. We would be completely lost without insects. Insects are involved at some time in all the processes that provide society today with the items that they require, the items that they think they need. We would be lost without bees, for instance. I don't know when governments and people are going to wake up to the fact that without bees, we've had it. Bees aren't the only pollinators, though. There's a range of flies, and even wasps. There we are, wasp eaters. Even wasps will pollinate a wide range of plants. Too many of us just don't appreciate the world around us, full stop. Not just places like Sherwood Forest here, but everywhere. How often do you go out and sit in your garden and think, this is wonderful? Perhaps not very often if you've only got a little backyard, but you can make a backyard nice. You can make a backyard useful for invertebrates. And we'll probably do some videos about that near a spring. So don't forget the importance of invertebrates, those creepy crawlers you don't like, those creepy crawlers that are a nuisance, the ones that might sting you. They're all extremely important to you. You might not think about it. Some of you might not give a toss, but you'll be lost ultimately without invertebrates.